Hi, everyone. Welcome to Words with Friends here on this lovely Monday afternoon. Unless you're watching this on like Thursday, then sorry. Every Monday and Wednesday, we're going to be live on Facebook talking to writers of all kinds, poems, music, movie, TV, comedy, music, all kinds. It's going to be really fun. So today I have a great songwriter. His name is Nick Lewis. I'm going to bring him on right now. We're going to talk to him about what he's been up to during his isolation and quarantine and how he's staying creative. So everyone, please welcome Nick Lewis. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit.
My pleasure, Richard.
How have you been keeping creative and sane during all of this COVID quarantine isolation madness?
Well, I don't know about the sane part, but the creative part. My wife and I, my wife is Whitney Marlette. She's a very good actress here in the San Antonio area. And we realized pretty quickly, pretty early on, that there was going to be a dearth of venues available for performing artists. I know I'm not exactly raking in the bucks, but I do make extra money on the side. I am regularly performing at restaurants and bars and stuff like that. She's regularly performing in the theaters, and we get a lot of personal satisfaction from this, if not all the money in the world. And that's taken away from us, right? With social distancing, you can't go out to the restaurant and have a nice dinner and listen to some guy play his guitar. And we realized that there was going to be this vacuum. And so we started a website, staycabaret.com. And we are using that as a venue for San Antonio area performing artists. If you are watching this and would like to be involved, visit the website. We've got a contact form that you can fill out, and we'll get in touch in terms of figuring out how best to transfer your information over to us so that we can post your video, your song, whatever you've got. And I've been creating a lot of content for that. I've been releasing comedy sketches and songs. We put up a new episode every week, so that is keeping me very busy. And
I hope one of the things that comes out of all of this, I've loved the influx of art on Facebook and the just here's the art. This is what I love to do. Take it and enjoy it. And I hope
God, take this.
I hope that people realize how important the arts are to your health when all of this is over, because it's been so great to see all of things like staycabaret.com pop up, and so people can ingest it, people who don't necessarily even have access to it. I remember being the little kid in northern Wisconsin that didn't have access to stuff like that. So we didn't have theaters, we didn't have concerts, I had nowhere to go, but I knew I loved it. So this would have been great for me. So thank you for putting it together.
I recognize that. I grew up in a very small town, rural eastern Oklahoma, and the thought of actually going to concerts. Back in the old days, before we had the internet, where you couldn't even listen to songs that you wanted unless you knew somebody who had it on tape or on vinyl.
So. Yeah, we didn't have theater, and my first show I was ever in, I traveled 45 minutes for rehearsals just to be a part of it because I knew I wanted to do it. So It was cool when you get to watch it on TV. Who do you think are your greatest songwriters that you have always loved or looked up to, and what do you like about their songwriting?
I would pick three writers. And anybody who knows anything about me is not going to be surprised at all by, by this list. The first, probably the greatest, I think, composer of the 20th century, Brian Wilson. I have always been a huge Beach Boys fan, and listening to Brian's music, listening to all of the different layers, all of the different levels. the different instrumentation, these songs where you can hear the guy in the back of the studio beating on the milk jug. I mean, it's just amazing the stuff that he did in his recordings. So as far as trying to think in terms of layers, tiers, Brian Wilson. Number 2 would be Randy Newman. I'm a huge Randy Newman fan. The idea that you can have the narrator of a song who is not a proxy for the artist, right? He creates distinct characters in his songs. Very often, not very nice people. But he's able to make these wonderful satirical statements about, life and America and whatnot. But just that whole idea that when you hear a singer performing a song, you're not necessarily listening to the voice of the singer. You're listening to a character. And I love that. And then third would be Michael Nesmith. I was a huge fan of the Monkees when I was a kid, as most people who are my age were. And I always liked Mike. I liked the way he sang, and I liked the fact that he was playing a guitar the whole time. So it's like, all right, I like this guy. The fact that he wore the green stocking cap was, immaterial as far as I was concerned. But as I grew older and started listening to more and more different kinds of music, started listening to a variety of different things, started paying attention to the work that he did as a solo artist. And he writes these wonderfully concise, image-heavy lyrics that he pairs with very simple music. He's writing, imagistic poetry and setting it to a country tune, which is just, I love listening to the idea that you don't have to be experimental in every phase of everything you do. You can ground whatever it is you're trying to do on something that's more familiar. Yeah, I tried my best to do that kind of thing as well.
So can you tell me about Papa Nick? Who is he? How did he come about? And what kind of music does he make?
Papa Nick, he's a strange character. And he is definitely a character, by the way. I've been playing the guitar since I was in college. I think when I first, I would dink around on the occasional guitar when I was, in high school. But again, small town, Eastern Oklahoma. I mean, I knew like 2 people who had guitars. Mm-hmm. And so I started playing seriously in college. And when I say seriously, I just mean regularly. And playing the guitar is always something that I've done. Once I figured out a few basic chords, that's the way I would unwind. I'd come home and, some people come home, they turn on the TV. Some people come home, they, head to the liquor cabinet. I would come home and I'd pick up my guitar and I'd play for a while. And never even for a moment occurred to me that I could actually perform, because that's something that other people do. We don't do that, we don't do that. No. Yeah. I moved to San Antonio in about 2006. Yeah, 2006. And within a year, found myself largely isolated and was desperate to try to find a social network, and stumbled across this group known informally as essay pickers. It's this broad network of musicians in and around the San Antonio area who used to get together every once in a while, once every month, maybe 2, sit around on somebody's back porch and play music in a song circle all night and drink beer and just generally hang out. And I started going to these things. And started meeting other musicians and seeing, okay, I'm not the only person who deals with the frustration of life by coming home and playing some, Beatles music or whatever. And developed confidence in my ability to play my instrument, but also in my ability to sing. I've always been a singer. Everybody in my family were singers. The big activity for us when we were doing long car trips was playing music that had multi-part harmonies And I distinctly remember being a kid sitting in the back seat with my brother Kevin, my sister Kelly, and we were doing the various harmonies on Beatles songs. I've always been a singer, but never thought of myself as, performance worthy. This is something I do for me. Don't look at me while I'm doing this kind of thing. And developed confidence in that through essay pickers, and that led me to stretching a little bit, putting myself a little bit on the line, and going out and gigging, which I've been doing semi-regularly now for about 5 years, 6 years.
Did you, like you were saying before, don't watch me? Did you want people to watch you? Like some performers, don't want to see the faces in the audience, and then some, that's all they crave. Do you know what I mean? Were you doing it did you want the notoriety or the fit? Was that the goal, or did you just want to write songs and play them?
When I first started, I just wanted to play. I just wanted to play music. I just wanted to I can't say every, but I don't think I'm the only person who gets to a certain point in his life and thinks, gosh, I should have been a rock star, right? I wanted to play. I wanted to perform. I've always it's weird. I am one of the most private people you're ever going to meet. The fact that I'm sitting here and just talking nonstop is unusual. I'm the guy sitting in the corner muttering under his breath. Most of what I'm muttering tends to be very sarcastically funny. So I'll mutter, and people within like a 2-foot radius will burst into laughter, right?
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. But I've never been afraid of public performance. I've never suffered from stage fright. I can talk to a group of 500 people and, my heart doesn't even skip a beat. I've never had a problem with that. And so for me, it wasn't so much about the need to perform. It was the need to prove to myself that I could perform, that it was something that I could do. And now when I'm playing, oh yeah, man, I'm looking at faces. If I were playing in a concert venue, for example, where the house lights are down and the lights on me, and I couldn't see anybody, it would freak me out. I would need to see people to know you're out there. I can hear you breathing is not good enough for me. I need to make eye contact with the folks. But even then, that's also one of the things that will reliably get me out of the moment when I'm playing a song and I'm like, okay, I got to remember this next lyric because this next line I always flub, and that's the moment when I make eye contact with a kid. And it's like, okay, it's gone. I'm making up a line for this song.
That's what I've been hearing from all of my musicians and artists who are live streaming right now on Facebook, is that it's so strange to sit and perform with no reaction, no faces. You don't know if anybody's watching or not watching. And the importance of that connection, that looking someone in the eye.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your songwriting process, and the question that popped in my head sort of reminded me of what comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, a lyric or a melody to a song? And then how do those two things blend together?
When I first started writing songs, thinking, okay, well, I like playing this music stuff, and I want to take a crack at it. It seemed natural to me. It seemed common sense. My background is in education. My degrees are in English language and literature, and so I'm going to start with the lyrics. And so I'd sit and I would work on a lyric, and I'd get it to where I thought, "Whoa, I like the sound of this." And then I'd get my guitar and okay, bam, right into that brick wall. I had just a bear of a time trying to do that. And then one day I was watching TV and I see an interview with Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney's talking about how he wrote music. He always starts with the music, and that he'd sit and he'd play for you, and I try this, and I thought, okay, I need to try that. And so I sat and I started playing just some chords, and it was it was night and day. It was so much easier. It is so much easier for me to write words to fit a tune than it is to write a tune to fit words. So for me, it starts with music.
Okay.
What I do is at any given point, I have, I refer to it as the hopper. I've got a certain number of songs in the hopper, where I will just sit and I'll pick a key. I'll pick a rhythmic pattern. Okay, I want to write in the key of D. I don't know if I've ever written anything in the key of D before. And okay, I want it to be kind of a Bo Diddley kind of pom, 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 pom. I want it to have that kind of, And so I make those decisions because most of what I write is fairly traditional pop rock, verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus. A lot of the decisions in terms of what comes next are made by the structure of the song format that I'm working in. And so it's just a matter of filling in blanks and looking for things to do that are different so that you're not writing the same song over and over again. And then once I've got like 4 or 5 tunes ready to go, that's when I start worrying about lyrics. And I start thinking, okay, well, what would be a good thing to write a song about? What have I heard anything lately that struck me as, wow, that's an interesting turn of phrase or something like that?
A lot of obviously writing, if it's in a journal or songs, are personal things, life experiences. What has that been like? Like, do you have a song or a lyric that really sticks out in your head that's super personal to you, that the words resonate a lot? And what was that like performing stuff like that for the first time?
Okay, so if you go to staycabaret.com, one of our early episodes, oh, Johnny on one of our early episodes, I performed a song that I wrote for the first album that I put out. This was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago now. 4 years ago, I guess. Hey, back there a while.
2 years ago.
It's a song called Massive Perturbers. And it's actually a pretty good example in terms of my overall writing process, because I'd come up with the music. I had the nice chord progression with some interesting voicings on the chords, and I really liked the way the music sounded. And I'm thinking, okay, what can I write a song about? And I just happened to be reading an article about how astronomers had just, within the past week at the time that I read the article, mathematically proven to their satisfaction the existence of what they were then calling Planet 9, which they now refer to generally as Planet X, a large rocky planet that is way outside our solar system, but still technically part of our solar system. We haven't actually seen it, but mathematically it makes sense that it's there given the weird orbits that all of the really far, the really distant stuff, Pluto and Charon, all that stuff, they have weird orbits relative to the rest of the solar system. So astronomers had posited the existence of this planet. They worked the models, and they were, it makes sense. And so, article about this. And I'm reading this article, and I'm thinking, okay, hey, who doesn't want to write a song about astronomy? So I'm thinking, I've got to write this song, and I'm thinking, as I'm working the song, why am I doing this? What is it about this that makes me think that this is a good song? Because writing about planets is not going to work. You're going to get like maybe 3 people who are like, hey, ooh, I like what you're saying there. Why is this sticking to me? And it finally occurred to me as I was looking for my 3rd verse, what is it that I'm trying to say in this song? And I realized that the same process that these astronomers are using to identify these planets, whether it's at the end of our solar system or planets in other solar systems, they're using logical inference. That we can't detect the planet itself, but we can see the effect that it has. We can see the perturbations that it has on its environment. The phrase "massive perturbers" refers to Planet 9. It's a massive thing that's having massive effects on the outskirts of the solar system. And I realized that this is one of the bedrock concepts of my own personal spirituality. My father passed away when I was in college, very suddenly. We had absolutely no warning that it was coming. I went to bed one night just a normal person, and woke up the next day with, I'm now part of the legion of people who've lost a parent. And it was a hugely impactful moment for me. My father and I never had a really good relationship when I was growing up, but for that last year of his life, we were as thick as thieves. And the thing that pulled me through that was the thing that I had always believed, and this was the first test of that. When you lose somebody in your life who is really important, you haven't lost that person. They're still there, right? If I've got a bowl of or a wad of silly putty, and I stick my thumb in that silly putty and I take my thumb out, the thumbprint is still there, right? The impression is proof of the existence of my thumb. The impression that my father had on me is proof that he is still a part of my life. It's just, the negative side now. And I realized that's what it was about this stupid planet that had attracted me to it. It's the same thing. I don't know that it's there. I can't see it, but I know that it's there because I can see the ripples that it creates. I don't know that my father is here, but I know that he's here because I can see in the man that I try to be echoes of the man that I know.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think, this sort of, you kind of just answered it. Why do you think it's so important to write and express yourself in any form, whether it's songwriting or journal writing or I call it writing?
Partly it's important just for the cathartic release of it. I mean, if you've got things that are bottling up, there are times, I've always thought of myself as a writer simply because I've always been a reader, and reading and writing to me are, yin and yang. If you're one, you're the other. You may not, you may not practice it often, but if you're one, you're the other.
Yeah.
But I learned when I was still fairly young that one of the easiest ways for me to make a decision when I'm really struggling with something, what am I going to do with this? The easiest way for me to make that decision is to sit down and write about it, and not sit down and create a poem about it, or sit down and write a song about it, or sit down and write a play. No, just write it out. The act of writing gets the stuff out of your head, puts it on the page. That it externalizes it. It makes it easier to deal with. So there's a certain amount of that going on. A lot of free-floating anxiety these days, and one way to get it out of your head is write it down. Yeah. Now, whether writing it down means putting paint on canvas, putting words on paper, putting tones on digital recording. I'm about to say tape there and really date myself. Regardless of what your medium is, you get the idea out of your head and on the page, on the surface, and it's no longer in your head. It's now something that you can deal with. I've never seen in the past writing for me as songwriting, as a cathartic thing. It's something that I think of it more as craft than as art. Many people who listen to my songs would agree. But these days, oh boy, howdy, it's catharsis. We got to vent this steam, or
yeah. I call it bad art. I've been making some really bad art just to you can throw it away when you're done, but it's that release and it's getting it out, and it's so important. No matter if it's good or bad, just do it.
It does not have to be. It does not have to be tailored for public consumption in order for it to be.
It can be all for you. I want to thank you for coming on and hanging out with me. You're the best. And talking to us. I want to leave everyone. I want to ask you to come up with a writing prompt for anybody watching. Something to get them started in writing for the day.
A writing prompt.
Yeah. We started a writing prompt in the hospital. One of our writers came up with, last week a kangaroo came to my. And then we went room to room, and every person got to add to the story. And then we took it to an art class, and then they got to illustrate the story. And it turned out that it was really cool to see how the story progressed and how excited people got to literally come up with one sentence to add to it.
So like most good writers, then I'm going to blatantly plagiarize. When I was in college, I took a creative writing course, and one day our instructor gave us a writing prompt that we then spent the rest of the class period completing. And it is Billy pulled himself. ...
Billy pulled himself.
Billy pulled him.
Take that, people who are watching, write about it, put it in the comments, and we'll see what happens. I think it's so fun to see what comes. The first thing that comes to someone's head when they hear of a writing prompt.
Yeah. So
we'll see. Nick, thanks for hanging out.
My pleasure, Richard.
I'll let you go back in your corner and make sarcastic comments now.
Cool.
And we'll chat later. Thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, I wanted to tell you guys, if you are out there and you don't know how to start writing, maybe you have some song lyrics or a poem that you have already written, but you want to put it to music, we here at Hearts Need Art can do that. You can schedule a one-on-one session with a writer, with a musician, and we can put all of those things together, and you could come up with a song. Wouldn't that be cool? And it's all one-on-one. I won't make you do it on Facebook Live unless you want to. It's on Zoom, and you'll be just chatting with one other artist, and it's a really cool opportunity. So take advantage of that. It's right there at heartsneedarts.org/virtual arts. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will see you later for some art at 2:00. Bye.